immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson in Cleburne, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
At Romika Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logoed designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Romika Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at romikadesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and we'd be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@romikadesigns.com, or visit us on the web at romikadesigns.com.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson, 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
The voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio. Welcome to the Her Show, Home Experience Radio, with your host, Trina Titus Lozano. This is a live call-in show that takes your calls and questions about marriage, family, and personal relationships. She's a licensed and ordained pastoral counselor, author, international conference speaker, wife, mom, and grandmother. She's been counseling and teaching vital relationship skills for over 30 years. Trina is real and relational and reveals strong truths spoken in tough love and common sense. Join us on the studio line now at 817-637-2585. And now, here's Trina.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Her Show. I am Trina Titus Lozano, pastoral counselor, licensed and ordained Christian minister. And today I have a guest in the studio with me. Hi, Erin. And Erin is here to talk about her story, and she is here to open up and also to give an opportunity to actually help you. She is adopted. She's an adoptee, and she has half a century of knowledge to share with us today in the adoption arena, just so that any of you who are struggling with these issues, or if you are just looking for peace because you are related to someone who is an adoptee, or maybe you are an adoptive mom, or maybe you're even a birth mother and you would like to build or rebuild relationships and even just space if it may or may not be possible, and just kind of all the ins and outs of this. This is her calling. She's been encouraging women for over 20 years to use their experience to help others. And that's what I'm here for today, is to help her help you, because really she has got a great platform, and the timing is just perfect for her to announce her new ministry, Adoption Reimagined. Adoption Reimagined. So I invited her today to just tell us her story and also to explain to you about this ministry of Adoption Reimagined. This is such a God thing, Erin. It's perfect timing. And so speaking to the mic, let me see if I can hear you. Even more. Let me make sure.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Okay, good.
Invited me here today. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I could hear your mic good enough. We may turn it up a little bit when Tip gets here. But just to get started, yes, I wanted to get started today because I have been rubbing elbows with a lot of people in the adopting community, and I've got very close, very, very, very close friends that are adopted, and very close friends who have adopted. And of course, there's open adoptions and closed adoptions, and everybody has a little bit of a different scenario, a different story, and also different possibilities within their story. So just kind of kick us off today with telling us how God put this ministry on your heart. Before we get to your story, just how God put this ministry on your heart.
Sure. So I have always known that I was adopted. And I have come across in the past 3 years so many people, so many ladies that are adopted that have really broken stories, and my heart has just been broken with them. So I want to use what I know to help them.
Yeah.
I know that everybody's story is different, and everybody just has pain and good things. They have just all sorts of different stories. But I want to use the good parts of my story to help them heal, to help them rebuild relationships. And I also realize sometimes that's not possible.
Yeah.
So I do have some strategies, some things that can help when rebuilding those relationships. Building those relationships is not possible because I realize that is also, what do you do when it doesn't work?
Yeah, that's right. And so God's put this on your heart. You're a life coach. And so you already have skills as a life coach. But as you are sort of just tweaking your ministry to being really specific with this really people group of adoptees, and it's been a really special thing. You have a specific heart for women and men that are adoptees.
I've been a life coach since 2016, and at first it was just any woman, anybody who was broken, who basically forgot who they were supposed to be, is kind of how I explained it.
Yeah.
But as the time went on, as I learned more skills, I started having a really deep relationship and a good relationship with my birth mother. And so using that and seeing other people, I think God was just kind of preparing me with learning all those skills to kind of refocus and kind of tweak my my ideal client, I guess, if you want to say, that person, because I can use my adoption story and better help other people and really hone in on that woman, whether she's an adoptee, whether she's a birth mother, or whether she's an adoptive mom. I can really help that because I have experience. I've known my birth mother for 12 years, and I really want to just help them rebuild relationships and plan. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you don't ever plan to do something, odds are you're not going to do it. So I really want to help them plan to build, to have good relationships.
Yes, I think that's so critical. I love to help people have improved relationships and better relationships. And I can see so clearly that when someone has an identity crisis in their life as a result of being adopted and not understanding how loved and how valuable, you had such a blessing in your life because your birth parents instilled from the time you could even understand the beauty of the uniqueness of your story. And everybody just doesn't have that privilege. So sometimes they need to go through some counseling or life coaching to just heal those broken inner parts. But your mom just had such wisdom to train you from a young age to tell you the truth that you were adopted, and then also to just begin sharing the real specifics of what God thought about you. So tell us everything that she did right. So for all of the people listening who've just adopted a baby, what do they need to do that's the right thing to do?
So this would be for adoptive parents. No, never keep secrets because they will find out, and then that is broken relationships right there. There is also my parents told me tons and tons of stories all the time. We still to this day just tell stories over and over, and I've probably heard the stories 25, 35 times. But the stories really instilled in me that that is my heritage, that is my legacy. Those are my people.
Yeah.
And I really connected with them more than what I knew zero about.
Right.
And so I never dwelt on the zero.
Yeah.
Because I just thought that was a waste of time.
Sure.
So I just moved on from that. And so telling stories about our family, we all got together. We still get together, tell stories all the time. They never kept that a secret. And they were supportive. My mom always told me if I want to look, she supports that as long as she doesn't hurt you. She wanted to
Which
keep
there's never
me.
any guarantee.
Sure.
That's just what she was worried
Sure.
about.
Mhm.
She placed her for adoption. And so that was the loving gift that your birth mom gave the world, is to choose to give birth to you and then to place you for adoption so that you could be adopted into a loving family.
Mhm.
And then you were. And then
Mhm.
for your mom who raised you to have this idea that after all these years, your birth mom could potentially actually
come back into the picture
come back into the picture and
Mhm.
then kind of mess up this beautiful
Mhm.
adoption story that you've had your whole life. So let's just fast forward a little bit.
Mhm.
Now you're 30, 36 years
Mhm.
old. And then you just began to get a little bit more curious and do a little bit of internet searching.
Mhm. So when I found my birth mother, it was kind of just on a whim. I had never really searched before. I was always very content in who I was. And that's for adoptees. Be content in who you are and know what you stand for before you ever go search. Because you have to get to the point, I think, that no matter what you find,
Yeah.
you're going to be the same person you were before.
Yeah, you're solid. You're
Yes.
solid no matter what.
Yes, be content with
Yeah.
who you are before you ever look.
Yeah.
Because what if a disaster happens? I mean, don't let that rock your world.
Yeah, you've got to be solid.
Yeah. So that was one reason I think that I didn't look a lot, was because, what if she didn't tell her family, her husband, what if she has kids? What if she's a drug addict? So
You just
I
don't
just
know.
thought,
She could be anything, anywhere.
yeah. And my life was good. I had kids, husband, kids. And so for me, I just kind of dragged my feet, and God really did a work. And I kind of always said that if God wants me to have her, he will work it out. And he absolutely worked it out in an amazing way, to where there were people speaking into my life that were like, wow, God just spoke through you.
Okay, so tell the story.
Okay.
Tell the story. We want all the juicy details,
Okay.
because this is, a lot of people are really wanting to know if this is a step that they should take.
Sure.
And so
Sure.
I love the advice that you gave so far. Make sure you're solid and content before, because this is risky.
It is. Sure.
It is.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to handle that. You have to be well rooted before you go out on a limb and choose to try to find your birth mom. Okay, so you did. And tell us the details.
So I posted a message on a wall. I think it was adoptionconnect.com, something like that. Because this was a long time ago. So I'm not even sure that's around anymore. I think you may have to pay for that service. I'm not sure. But I put a post on the wall, and within an hour, someone sent me my a birth certificate number and said, if this is your birth certificate number, then this is your birth mother.
Okay.
And I mean, within an hour. So to me, that was like, okay,
Such a sign.
that door
I mean,
has
just an
been
immediate response.
totally open.
Yeah.
And so I ran through the house looking in every single box in the attic, and I had to go find my birth certificate. And it matched.
Wow.
There was another.
I just cannot imagine your feeling when you're reading the number. Like, it would be like winning the lottery kind of thing. It's like you're reading the numbers going, oh my God, yes.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way, but you're right. Yeah, I was looking at the numbers because, it's a real long number.
Oh, yeah.
And then another hour went by, and someone sent me her dad's obituary, which had all the family listed in that obituary. And then someone else sent me her Facebook photo, and she had red hair.
Oh,
and
you were a redhead and she was the redhead. Okay.
And I knew she was a redhead. My parents knew some details.
Oh, okay.
And they told me she had red hair. She could sing really well.
Oh.
She was 21 or 22 already. And that my birth father kind of checked out and just said,
okay,
this is not really what I signed up for. So they knew some details, which is very comforting, which is, you're curious.
Yeah.
But if you know some details,
okay.
I always thought, oh, what if it's Reba McEntire? Because she's got red hair, just kind of thinking, being silly, but
seriously, you just never know. And so that's interesting.
Yeah.
So for the parents who are adopting, if they know details, even if it's a closed adoption, it's actually helpful for the child to be able to know a few details.
Yeah. And that's what my mom told them. Can you tell me any details that you can tell me? Because I know she's going to ask questions.
Sure.
So I had another post, and it gave me her Facebook photo, and so it had like Abilene on there, so I called all these people from Abilene that had that last name, and nobody knew who it was, and so I kind of gave up. But then, so this is just, you got to follow me, it's kind of a tedious little story. I used to write at a coffee shop and a bookstore.
Okay.
I used to write my blog and write my life coaching and the articles I was writing. And one day I went and bought a book. And you get on your computer, and she's like, oh, let me look up your account. And she said, what is your last name? Is it Williamson? And that is the last name of my birth mother.
Wow.
And
she was just like a random guess.
Just random.
Only not
Absolutely.
A random guess. It had to be a sign from God.
Yes. And that's what it was.
So
I
bizarre.
just started bawling, and
because tell our listeners what your last name is.
My last name is McEndree.
McEndree.
Yeah.
So
Williamson.
So she was not even close.
Yeah. And I said, where did you get that name? And she said, I have no idea. I just picked it out of
just blurted it out. Yeah. She wasn't even thinking it. Yeah. That was such a God thing.
And exactly. I think that was God saying, you have her number. Call her.
Yeah.
And that was right before my husband had actually found another number online, looking through internet stuff. And he said, maybe this is her number. And so I had that number, and it was like God saying, I have given her to you. Would you just call her?
Yeah.
So I did call her, and it was December 14th. I do remember that. And I just said, when I called, her husband answered the phone, and that was one of those things I was just, what if he asks her questions? What if he doesn't know? I don't want to get her in trouble. I don't want to hurt
don't want to cause drama.
I don't want to cause drama. And I said, my name is Erin, and I have red hair, and I was born March the 13th, and I think you know who I am, and I would love to talk to you. And what do you want to do? And
now, had you pre-rehearsed that?
Yeah,
I
did, because I wanted to just let it be her choice. Okay. And I was trying to figure out what to say.
Yeah.
Because, if she would have said no, I would have said, thank you very much.
And hang up, closed door.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I would have been okay with that.
Sure.
Because like I said, I knew who I was before I called.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, she said, she paused for, that 7 seconds of like, she's paused. And she said, can I put you on hold? And I was like, well, sure. So she put me on hold, and I told my husband, she put me on hold. And she was actually telling her husband that this is my baby. Can I talk to her?
Aw.
And her husband was like, absolutely. Because he
Yeah.
always said that he would help her look if she wanted. And she just never had.
Wow. Well, I'm
gotten
glad
to
she had
that
the wisdom
point.
to be vulnerable with him.
Mhm.
So there were no
Sure.
surprises.
Sure. And that's a funny story too. But we haven't, when she told him, that's a funny part of the story.
Okay. Well, we'll hear it later.
Okay. So anyway, so we talked for about 10 minutes. We exchanged email addresses, and I just told her I had a mom and a dad. I had kids, grown up, gotten married, graduated college. At the time, I was raising my children, but I had been a teacher, and life was good. Things were good, and so she told me about herself. She never had any other children,
Oh,
but she had stepchildren that she helped raise.
Okay.
And she said, I always wondered, I wonder if my baby is going to her first day of kindergarten. I wonder if my baby is, playing sports.
Yeah,
I wonder.
sure.
So she said, I kind of always wondered.
Sure.
what
She
you were
kept track
doing.
of your age.
Yeah,
Of
of
course,
my
she's
age.
never going to forget.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So we exchanged email addresses and started emailing one another. And then we did meet. My husband and I went and met them at a restaurant
Wow.
in Abilene, and we just met and had dinner together, and just told stories. And I think another thing that I did that put her at so much ease is I didn't ask questions about the past.
Okay.
I didn't go there. We talked about
The
we
present.
started as friends. We
Okay.
started as people getting to know one another.
Okay.
And I didn't go backwards.
So you would recommend that for the
Yes.
first meeting?
Sure.
And did
Sure.
anybody give you that wisdom, or you just had the insight that let's just be friends 1st?
Mhm. Well, knowing that it could have been really difficult, her
Yeah.
story could have been horrible. I mean, what if it was not? I mean, I know that my birth father kind of just left, but what if it was so much worse than that?
Yeah.
Would I really want to be just talking to some stranger that just is going to start asking me all these questions? And so I just wanted to be very full of grace,
Yeah.
and just full of gentleness, and
Yeah.
and just let her know I accepted her and I never hated her. And that's what gave her so much peace. Is that
bet.
she said
That's probably the one thing she was worried about.
That is what she wanted to know the most, is that I didn't hate her. And then even knowing her story, that it wasn't her choice to give me up. It's kind of what her parents decided for her. Even that, I did not hold that against them. To me, I felt so much concern, sadness, that they had to deal with enough guilt and enough shame and enough whatever inside of them, that they just put her away, brought her back, never talked about it again.
Yeah.
And to me, how sad that is, that they couldn't have said, we're going to support you. We're going to do everything we can.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
You have
Yeah.
unconditional love.
Yeah.
Like Jesus does for
and
us.
acceptance.
Yeah.
Yes. They just
Yeah.
didn't have it in them at the time.
Yeah.
But God used
Mhm.
her story to answer a prayer of your parents.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
So when she
Absolutely.
finally got to meet you, that day was probably like one of the most glorious days. I
Mhm.
mean, think about it. She had waited for 36 years
Mhm.
to see her baby,
Mhm.
and finally she was put to ease.
Yes. Yeah. And her mom, she told her mom over Christmas, because I talked to her December 14th.
Okay.
Over Christmas, when you get all the family together,
Sure.
she told all of them that I
She
had
saw her
called,
baby.
and that we didn't meet till February, but that I had called.
Oh, okay.
And that I was, I was just a sweet, forgiving, I was a good person, and that her mom was so glad to know that I didn't hold anything against them, that they're such different people than they were 36
Yes,
years before. And
of
I
course.
totally realize that. As an
Yes.
adoptee, that's another tip.
Yes.
They are going to be so different. Maybe 2 weeks after it,
Yes.
maybe a year after it, maybe
Sure.
10 years after it than they are when you finally, however old you are.
When they make that decision, they're making it's a fear-based decision.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a courageous decision to not abort you, which was an option.
Mm-hmm.
But so there's like that, but then it's such a big decision.
Mm-hmm.
But once it's made, it's made, and it's a final decision.
Sure.
There's no going back.
Sure. And I have talked to other adoptees, other adoptive parents, other birth moms, and one recently had just told me that they are so glad that they chose to support their daughter, to support her, because they can't even imagine life without that little girl.
Sure.
And that is one of the things that if you are an adoptive mom, if you're thinking about it, that is going to be with you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I think they really have to think about that.
Sure.
And that, I mean, I guess you have probably said this or heard this, that don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
That's right.
And we have so many places in town that support unwed mothers, that have diapers, that have support and
anything you could
counseling.
possibly need.
There's
anything.
so much support.
Yes.
So much support.
In fact, there's a fundraiser this week for the Pregnancy Help Center, Pregnancy for You in Keller. And so, yes, but there are so many great support centers.
Sure.
Crisis pregnancy centers, and anybody can Google that if you're in a situation. And I love to support also Embrace Grace, which is such a great ministry to help moms who are unmarried or who find themselves just all of a sudden single because the father of the baby chooses to not be a part of it. And but it's not the end of the story. And here your story continues. So thank you for sharing your story today. So what did your mom and dad think when you told them that you were able to meet her? Because they weren't there. Were they just full of curiosity about how it went? What was their response?
I gave my mom the option if she wanted to come with me, because I always said, we will do this. And you can be there if you want to. I will let that be your decision. My mom opted not to be there, and I was a little disappointed.
Were you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was. So we went. So afterwards, driving home, I called my mom and just let her know, Mom, she's such a sweet lady. She's such a nice person. She just told her about her story, and just said, I don't think she is not going to hurt me, because she has already said, I know my place. And so for birth moms, she knew her place. She never wanted me to break family things to do something with her. She never wanted me to be called mom, never wanted to take that place or anything. She has said that several times. I know my place, and it is not to be your mom. It's more to be your friend.
That is so great. That makes such a difference. I bet your mom was so relieved to know that she wasn't going to be replaced after a lifetime of investing and
it
loving
took my
her
mom
daughter.
a long time. For a long time, they never asked questions and they never said anything. But when we finally got them to meet, because there was an event we wanted both of them at. When we finally got them to meet, my mom said, after they had visited for 2 hours, and my dad visited with her husband for 2 hours, my mom said, they're such nice people. And I said, I know, it's been 9 years.
Such nice people. You know what? Stories do have a happy ending. So stay tuned, and we'll be back after the break with Erin McEndree, hearing her story of reconciliation with her birth mom. Be right back.
Hey, travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
Welcome back to the Her Show. I'm Trina Titus Lozano, and I'm here with you every Monday afternoon, 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Texas time, right here in Burleson, Texas. Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen or watch, simply go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The Joco Community Radio app is now available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store, check out our lineup, and more on jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. So reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844-TEX-HAIL, 844-839-4245. If you'd like to join the conversation today, you're always welcome to call in to the studio at 817-637-2585, 817-637-2585. Today, the topic is adoption, and I'm here with Erin McEndree, and she has a ministry called AdoptionReimagined.com. She's a life coach, and she has really committed herself to ministering to this specific group of people. So adoptees, adoptive moms, birth mothers, and she's just here to help you on your journey in navigating these relationships. So we praise God for her. She is a great inspiration, and her adoption story is a great inspiration. And if you are walking through this, I'm going to just recommend that you get a hold of her, because she would love to help walk you through this. On the Her Show, every week we talk about making your home a place of love and peace. And so that's what it's all about. It's all about the love and peace that you have in your heart, the love and peace that you bring as the atmosphere in your home. And so things that are unresolved need to be resolved one way or another. And so Erin can really help you walk through that, no matter what the outcome might be. We don't know. We never know the outcome, but we always know that it is beneficial to go through the process with someone who understands. So Erin, thank you for your vulnerability today, because it's a risk, and it was a risk reaching out to your birth mom, but it certainly was worth it. And then to pick up where we left off, your adoptive mom was supportive, and she was confident. I'm in her place as your mom. And then your birth mom, as you say, knew her place. Even in the reconnection, she still knew her place, and she wasn't going to move in and take the place of your mom. So that's really special. And I'm sure that that meant a lot to your mom.
And that's segues right into it, like another tip
Yeah.
for adoptees. Decide what you're going to call them, the labels and stuff you're going to use before you get in there.
Yeah.
I have never referred to her as my mom. she is pretty much like my kid's grandmother. I mean, her and her husband are awesome, kind of like grandparents, but we don't call them by their grandparent names that their other grandchildren call them.
Okay.
Just those are reserved for my parents.
Yes.
And so she is totally fine with that. She says just whatever time that we give her and share with her is good. And it
She's
doesn't
grateful
have
for
to
it.
have, those other
Sure, she didn't want to
things.
be intrusive.
Mhm.
And she and that's wonderful that she respects your parents because
Mhm.
they're your parents,
Mhm.
and she should respect them. They're irreplaceable. And so she had a place, they have a place in your life. So
Mhm.
what did you decide to call her?
I call her Jeanette. I just call her
Call her by her first
by
name.
her first name.
Yeah.
I introduce her as my birth mother.
Oh, you do?
To
Okay.
distinguish her between my mom and my birth mother. So I do distinguish her that way. And it's a little weird. She introduces me as her daughter, which that's true. I am, but that is a little stranger to me. But I mean, what else would she call me? I mean,
Yeah, you were
so
her baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's okay.
Sure.
I don't see another even way to do that. So
Yes.
so it's okay.
And it's true. It's not like you're telling everybody all the time the whole story, but
Mhm.
when it's relevant and when introductions are important, it's okay
Mhm.
to just tell the truth.
Sure,
And that's the
sure.
truth.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
just the reality.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful reality.
Yeah. So after about 9 years, they finally did meet. And then that kind of broke the ice finally.
Yeah. 9 years is a long time.
Yeah. And I really think that my mom just had to realize with action, with words, with how I acted, that I'm going to be the same daughter I was before
Always.
meeting her
Your
and
whole
after
life.
meeting her. I'm
Yeah.
not going to break family things to go do stuff with the, I just think my mom kind of needed that reassurance.
And the loyalty. You were loyal to her as her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so now we are to the point my birth mother and her husband have come to my son's football games. They've come to my daughter's volleyball games
Wow.
with my parents, sat in the stands with them. They have come to both my kids' high school graduation parties.
Wow.
They are included in the big family events, and it's fine and it's good. And my son just graduated a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
Congratulations.
yeah, yay.
Yay.
So when my birth mother left, they were about to leave. She hugged my mom. And I mean, I was kind of far away. We're all on the porch. But she hugged my mom and said, I love you. And I am so blessed that Erin has you.
Aw.
And my mom just hugged her back and said, I love you too. And I am very blessed that I have her. And I want to thank you for that too. And so,
Wow, that was a big moment.
yeah, it was awesome.
That was a
was
big
awesome.
moment because, gratitude changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude changes everything,
Mhm.
and resentment ruins everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And truth and honesty, it brings everything to the light.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Yeah.
you keep the secrets and you're living in secrets and lies, and it
Mhm.
just doesn't benefit
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
So when things come to the light,
Mm-hmm.
and you are able to really see things for what they are, then there's a challenge for, they both had a real challenge to not be jealous of
Mhm.
each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amazing. And then of course they both had a challenge to, as you said, that your birth mom put it, to know their place
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
and to be confident in their
Mhm.
place.
sure.
Each one had a very important role in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that that's something that adoptive parents, and birth mothers, if all three of them can have that unconditional love and that grace
Yeah.
and that acceptance, then you can have a good relationship. But if one of those is broken, if one of those can't, and there's a lot of people, birth mothers, adoptees, they just can't.
They just can't.
They just haven't grown or matured enough to have that unconditional love,
Yeah.
to try to repair things, to be decent.
Yeah.
And so,
And to be grateful.
yeah, and to
in the
be
circumstance,
grateful.
because everybody has disappointments.
Mhm.
All three the adoptee, the birth mom, and the adoptive mom.
Mhm.
They all have hurts. They all have disappointments.
Mhm.
None of it was anything that any of them planned or would have planned.
Sure. They all have their own trauma.
They all have their
all
own
have
trauma, their own
and you
wounds.
can't compare.
No.
You can't say the adoptee is the worst when you have a mom who can't get pregnant and tries over and over and
Yes.
over every month and is disappointed
Yeah,
over and over.
devastated.
You can't compare those.
No.
You can't compare my birth mother's absolute gut wrenching giving up a child. You
Yes.
can't compare that to the adoptee or to the
No.
to the adoptive
No.
mom. So when you can figure out how to not compare, and
Yes.
the mine's worse than yours, and you
Yeah.
owe me or what, when you can figure out how to not do that and accept each one as this was a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And accept that, then you can start building a relationship.
Because they each are so unique.
Mhm.
And insecurity has no place. Jealousy has no place. Like you say, comparison has
Mhm.
no place. All of that will undermine the process.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. And then we absolutely have people that can't. So then you have to talk about, what do you do when it doesn't work?
Yeah.
What do you do when, the birth mother comes back and wants you to be her daughter and
Yeah.
wants to treat you
Mhm.
and talk to you and do everything
Yeah.
and basically kind of put you in the place of being a daughter and everything that goes with it. What do you do when that happens?
Yeah. And if that's not what you want,
Sure.
maybe she's not the kind of person that you want to be around.
Mhm. Yeah. So we do
I mean,
talk
she
about,
could be an addict. She
Oh,
could
sure.
be, she could be anything. Like she might be someone that you don't really want
Mhm.
around. You wanted to know who she was,
Mhm.
but it doesn't mean that you want to be with her all the
Sure.
time. Maybe she's not somebody that,
Mhm.
so yeah,
Yeah, we
there's,
talk about boundaries a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
And that goes back to decide who you are, decide what you want
Mhm.
before, because then when a red flag comes up, you're not 2 years into it.
Yeah.
With them crossing the line and crossing the line and crossing the line before you decide you don't want to do that.
And it's not a quick fix. I mean, we said it kind of quickly, but okay, it was 36 years until you found your birth mom. Okay, that's not a quick thing. It was 9 years before your birth mom and your
Mhm.
mom
Mhm.
met.
Mhm.
So this is a lot of patience.
Yes, it is. That
As
is
you're waiting for the
true.
process. And now, how many
Mhm.
years has it been since all three of you have been able to interact beautifully as a family?
3. We have
Only
been,
3 years. So
mhm.
it's still so fresh.
Mhm. Yeah, we've been going to each other's events and stuff for 3 years.
Okay, now you have not felt the same urge to find your birth father.
Correct. Kind of like I did with my birth mother. If God wants me to have him, he will work that out. And my birth, and I have that connection. I mean, my birth mother said I could ask her and she would give me details whenever I was ready. And I just said, well, let me decide, let me know, or, I'll let you know whenever I want to do that. And I have never felt like I've had permission from God like I did with her.
Yeah.
And so I have not pursued that. I have asked maybe one question of her this whole 12 years. Does anything about me remind you of him? I think that's the only question
I
I've
say,
ever
do you look
asked.
just like her?
I
mean,
look a lot
because
like
she was a redhead, you're a redhead.
Mhm.
So other than that, I guess whatever doesn't look like
Mhm.
her must look like your dad, your birth dad, or
Yeah.
your bio dad, I should say.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So I've never have really
Because he wasn't
felt.
there at your birth.
Mhm.
So really, he was just like a sperm donor. I
Mhm.
mean, he literally wasn't even there at the birth.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's
Um,
really not at all the same sort of connection. I
Sure.
mean, it's
Sure.
interesting to think about the difference. Now, as you know, I'm a counselor. I have a client right now uh, who there was a pregnancy out of wedlock and she chose to have an abortion, and he still carries such pain over the loss of that child. So even though
Mhm.
there's not a marriage, it still is part of their story, but you just don't know to what extent, because it depends on his own character, to what extent he even emotionally was
Mhm.
at all invested,
Mhm.
but of course you can look at actions that speak louder than words. And if
Mhm.
the man's going to say, okay, well, I
Mhm.
was just, I wasn't intending on being a father right now. So it's interesting because it's a whole nother dynamic and everybody has their own story.
Yeah. I mean, if he called me, I would talk to him. Um, we just have to see.
Yeah, because it goes both
Well,
ways.
yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
mean, he could
call
ask
me.
your mom, and then so have
Mhm.
you given her permission? She would probably ask you. She would probably say, "Okay, he
Yeah.
called. I don't want to just give him your number.
Sure.
Do you
Oh,
want me to?"
absolutely.
Yeah,
I absolutely believe that she would
she would ask you
me
first. Yeah, yeah,
first.
yeah.
I don't know. I would probably talk to him, but I don't know. I just don't feel um, that connection. I feel like God is protecting me from a huge can of worms and from more drama than I even want.
Well, then that's
And
probably what's
so, thank you,
happening.
God. That yeah,
That's probably what's
yeah.
happening. I think if any adoptees can take something from this show today is really pray about it and just
Mhm.
be led by the Spirit and let God do it
Mhm.
because He can do things that I mean, the fact
Absolutely.
that that someone responded immediately and then
Mhm.
that one lady like accidentally said a name that was the name
Mhm.
from your birth mom. I mean, this is a God thing, and when
Mhm.
you are trusting the Lord, He will open
He
the
will.
doors, and if He
Absolutely.
wants to. And
Mhm.
and he won't if he doesn't want to. So that I think is such a good takeaway
Mhm.
from this show is just to
True.
trust the Lord because you really don't know what's on the other side, but God knows.
Mhm.
He knows the whole story.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it was she needed peace and he was, ready to give that to her. And my birth mother needed the peace to know
She
that.
needed the peace to
Mhm.
know because really
Mhm.
out of the 3 of you, she was the one that was still hurting the most.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, it
Absolutely.
sounds like in your case
Mhm.
because you and your mom had such a great life together,
Mhm.
such a great connection, but yet she didn't have the assurance to know that you were
Sure. She had
okay.
the unknown.
She had the unknown.
Yeah.
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 I mean, which you were
Absolutely.
curious, but she was the one that was really in
Mhm.
more pain. Now,
Mhm.
you're a Christian
Mhm.
and you were raised in a Christian home.
Mhm.
So, did your birth mom have that same experience?
Yes. She did. And part of that story is that her family and my birth father's family all went to church together.
Oh, okay.
And so that was part of, I
The
think,
shame.
that shame and that guilt. And oh my goodness, we sit on the same pew as them. And, just we just need to, I don't know,
Cover it up.
cover it up, hide this.
Yeah, cover it up.
Yeah.
Interesting. So she did have faith that helped
She
get her
does.
through.
Yes.
And so that was
Yes.
something, and that's such a deeper
Mhm.
connection because there's a fellowship and there's an understanding
Mhm.
of how God makes something so
Yes.
beautiful, even out of our mistakes.
Sure.
And so they made a mistake,
Sure.
but you weren't a mistake.
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
how wonderful
Absolutely.
that your mom
Absolutely.
raised you to know that.
Yeah, and that's another point. When growing up, and I think part of this had to do with my personality, part of this had to do with my parents, what they told me. I never ever once said or thought, "Oh, that's because I'm adopted." Other
Interesting.
girls were not getting boyfriends, just like me. And I never thought mine was because I was adopted, because they're not adopted. They're not getting boyfriends either. I never once thought that the crux of my matter was because I was adopted, because I could look around, oh, well, that's happening to them. That's happening to her. That's happening to her. That's
You weren't
so
comparing
I
yourself.
wasn't
Yeah.
comparing it to that, because that was obviously not the case, because if
Yeah.
it was because I was adopted, then they'd all have boyfriends. But
Right.
that's not, in my
Yeah.
mind, I'm like, well, that can't
It doesn't
be,
work that
that
way.
can't be the reason.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I took that along with me too.
Yeah.
Is everything that happened to me that was bad or was not because I was adopted. Um, maybe I just didn't have the knowledge or just didn't know, but then you research and then you figure it out.
Yes.
It's not.
So as you're talking to other adoptees,
Mhm.
I suppose that you must really go deep into their identity and their value. And so what is it that you tell them to help make a difference? Because maybe they were not raised as well as
Mhm.
you were with such a great
Sure.
mom that
Mhm.
really instilled that deep into their heart. So what do you tell
Mhm.
them?
Um, it, I tell them, don't compare.
Okay.
Don't compare themselves to anybody else. They are unique, and we do a whole lesson on what do you stand for,
Mm.
what do you value, and why.
Mhm.
And so when you figure that out about yourself, you can be confident
Yeah.
in knowing who you are, and so things around you don't destroy you, they don't rock your world. But that's really hard for some people.
I think a lot of people undervalue who they are and who God made them to be, and overvalue who they aren't.
Oh,
You know?
absolutely.
And I always say,
Sure.
if you're going to compare, and I think it's a natural thing to compare. I think when we say don't compare, we know it doesn't do any good, but it just seems to be a way of measuring things that really shouldn't be measured, but we do anyway. I always tell people, okay, if you're going to compare, even though I don't want you to, go both ways. You know, I'm smarter than some and not as smart as others.
Sure.
I'm prettier than some and not as pretty as others. I'm thinner than some and not as thin as others.
Yeah.
I have a more wonderful family than some and not as good as others. I have more money than some and not as many as others. And it goes on and on and on. You know, I have more hardships than some and not as many hardships as others.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're going to compare, just go both ways. So at least it's accurate and fair.
That's very true.
Right.
And I even started thinking about kids in my class and all the different things I could pick out. Well,
Yeah.
she did that. She had this big birthmark on her face. Well, I didn't. And I was adopted. That was my thing. Her thing was she had this big birthmark on her face.
Okay.
We had one African American girl in my class for 6 years.
Oh,
That was her thing. That was her
that's your thing.
difference. That was
Sure.
everybody
Has
a
something.
thing.
Something
Yeah.
unique about.
And so
You know
to
what my
pick-
thing was?
What was yours?
I was a PK. My parents were pastors.
Oh yeah.
And so that set me
You were the
apart. And I
pastor's
mean, for
kid.
some people, like at church, that's like, then you're extra special because you're the pastor's daughter. But when you're at school, people are like afraid of you. Like,
I get
you
it.
know what I
Yep.
mean? Like guys might be afraid to date you, that maybe they're going to get in trouble if, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so people, that was kind of my thing. And you have to embrace it as, okay, this is my thing, whatever it is.
Yeah. And so I have
But it
used,
was just the thing that I had to adjust to
And
as part of my
everybody has
identity.
that.
Everybody has something that they
Yeah.
have to adjust to that part of their identity.
And I want to use my adoption story to help
Yes.
others. I think God gives you these things and he doesn't want you to waste them. He doesn't want me to waste my
Right.
story.
Right.
And I'm so passionate about helping other people who are broken, who want to rebuild. And like I said, what happens when you can't? So
what happens when you can't? Well, when you know who you are, and you started off, talking about that, when you know who you are, that is the key. adoptionreimagined.com. Check out the website, adoptionreimagined.com, so that you can be a part of what Erin's doing. I know that this is such an important support group for adoptees, adoptive moms, or birth moms. No matter where you are in the story, your story is so important, and you're not alone. There's other women that want to connect with you and really help you to appreciate your identity, to appreciate your story, and for you to know that God sees you, God knows you, He loves you, you are significant, you are loved, you're adopted by God, you're a child of God, you're born again, you're adopted into the family of God. So we're really all adopted when it comes to that, but you're accepted by Christ, you're blameless before Christ, you're righteous in Christ, and you're complete in Christ. And, if you're not, she can help you understand what it means to have a relationship with Christ. Because when Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, your identity becomes in Him. And it's in Him that we live and we move and we have our being. So as we are in Him, and He is in us, we take on an identity of Christ. So we're all adopted into the family of God.
Yeah.
And you help people understand that as well.
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
so I'll tell my listeners just a little bit of a background of how I met you. Is we were at a silent retreat together, and so we were roommates at the silent retreat. So we just had a little bit on the first day, maybe an hour, where we could just visit and get to know each other real quick. Because then for the rest of the weekend, we were not allowed to talk at all. That was the most interesting experience of my life.
Oh,
And
I
I'm a talker.
loved it.
And I'm a talker, and I'm just like, okay, this is so weird. I liked it. I can't say that I loved it. I leaned into the discomfort of it. Really the whole time I was like, oh, I really wish I could spend more time talking to these ladies. I would have loved to spend more time talking to you and even hearing your story back then, but it wasn't even an option because we were not talking. But that was a good experience. And I know that you had this quiet time with the Lord, and he must have been speaking to your heart about even this ministry back then.
Well, I have been to 2 of those silent retreats, and I am writing my book at those silent retreats. I have a book named Adoption Reimagined, and a study guide that goes with it. So that is what I do when I go to the silent retreat, is just write and write and write, and trying to chip away and finish that book.
You're totally uninterrupted, and it's a goal that you're going to accomplish. And I know that your story is going to really help a lot of people. It's so important. What do you want to leave with the women that are a part of these stories, the birth mom and the adoptive mom and the adoptee? What would you first say to the birth mom?
To the birth mom, I think it would be that somehow to find peace, to realize that you are not the same person that you were when this decision was made, and find peace. And that may not be that you meet her and him or your child, but somehow find peace. And I think that in the Lord, God can give you that peace, even if
there's no reconnection.
Yeah, reconnection.
And what about the adoptive mom?
I think don't keep secrets. Just tell them stories. Adoptees want to know about their heritage and where they came from. And I know exactly where I have come from. I know all the stories of my ancestors because as an adoptee, I chose who I was going to adhere to. I mean, I chose that.
And as the adoptee,
just be gracious, be accepting, be gracious. They're not who they were all those many years ago. But also prepare, because sometimes it doesn't go well. And I think that's for all 3. Be gracious, be accepting. It may not work out the way you want to, but you can find peace.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you for being here. And if you would like more information, please get a hold of Erin. So God bless y'all today. Thank you so much for joining me on The Her Show. I'm Trina. Until next week, hugs and high fives.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Accelerated graphics and Southeast Print from Sweet Sea and Burleson, Texas can handle all of your graphic needs.